Hey, friend, Church D coming at you once again. Thank you for tuning into What Does It Take to Win? Could you believe we've made it to episode 20 of the podcast? Standing ovation, round of applause. Yes, yes. I appreciate every one of you who have taken time out of your busy schedule to listen to this. I do it specifically to bring encouragement and just to kind of steer you into the right direction of how to obtain success. So I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and stay connected with me in the future. This is going to be the final episode of the season. I'm going to take a brief hiatus, and then I'm going to come back later on with some more valuable information. I need to do this just so I can sort of recharge, and plus I'm working on some other projects that I need to devote a lot of energy to. So I want to give those projects the appropriate amount of energy as well as this podcast. So I don't want it to be like an imbalance. I want you to get a high quality podcast. And like I said, the other projects need to get high quality energy as well. Okay. But before we jump into it, I want to say once again, go check out my music. You could purchase it, download it. You could stream it. Just help me to collect my coins any way you can. The latest project I put out is entitled The Big Reveal. It's an EP. Has about 6 songs on there. It has some really cool jazz vibes on there. So if you're into that stuff, check it out. If you're not into it, get into it and still check it out. The single I put out right before The Big Reveal is entitled The Vision. Also some really cool jazz stuff. Worked with a pretty awesome saxophonist by the name of Leah Besick or Leah Besick. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I apologize. Out of Florida. She's really talented. And yeah, I love that record. I think it was one of my favorite records to work on. Prior to that, in May 2019, I released a full-length album entitled The Cactus, Bare Minimum 2.0. That's also some more really cool jazz vibes to it. It has some soul, some R&B feels as well. So yeah, check out all of my music. Just whatever platform you love, whatever platform you enjoy your music on, whether it's Amazon Music, Apple Music, or Spotify, we got you covered from here all across the world. I don't know what your favorite streaming services are. I think you have like Deezer. I think Amazon UK is out there as well. Whatever is clever for you, wherever you can find your music and purchase it. It's on YouTube. If you don't want to purchase, you can listen to it. Just be sure to share. Yeah, just type in my name, Church D, CHURCHDEE, and you'll be able to find my music. Okay. So I'm not going to spend too much more time promoting myself because if I don't, who will, right? I'll say. But let's jump right into the podcast. This is the last episode for the season, and it's entitled Don't Forget It. I was inspired to talk about this because so often we'll find ourselves getting caught up, just on the grind 24/7, if you will. Constantly looking for that next level, and we forget to take a break and celebrate the wins that we've already accomplished. So I just wanted to touch upon that. So I have here 3 points that I wanted to talk about, just to encourage one another to not forget our wins that we've achieved thus far. Because we can end up being extra hard on ourselves. Just feeling like, okay, well, we didn't do enough, so we have to keep going. So I'm not going to hold you much longer. I say that every podcast nowadays, but I'm really not. So yeah, first point that I want to talk about, well, I'm going to actually go down the list of the 3 points. First point is think back on what you've accomplished so far. Celebrate those wins and hard work. The second point is to use your previous achievements as fuel for your motivation. And the third and final point is to use your story to help others and to offer advice. Okay, so let's dive right into the first point. Think back on what you've accomplished so far. So now with this, I always tell people, hey, it's going to be good. It's going to be great. Like, you're so dope. Your next project is going to be that much better than your previous one. The reason why I say that is because you've put in a lot of hard work. You've put in a lot of hours to accomplish what you've done so far. It only makes sense to take a break, look back on what you've done, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Just because it's over or just because like the time has passed, rather doesn't mean that it's over. You worked very hard leading up to that magical moment. So why not celebrate it? Let's look at college, or let's look at schooling in general. Yeah, well, we can stick to college. So you go to college for 4 years. You worked hard each and every year. You made friends, you networked, you made connections, etc. And then you graduate at the end of your 4 years. Are you going to say, okay, that's that, and it's on to the next? You could, or you could look back and say, wow, I really pushed myself. I dedicated myself to learning. I put in a lot of sleepless nights and lots of studying in order to achieve what I was working towards achieving. And now I'm going to use that same drive for my future projects. You know, take some time out, pause, think about what you've done. And this is the perfect segue into my second point, which says use your previous achievements as fuel for your motivation. Now, as I mentioned, if you've done it once before, like if you overcame many obstacles and challenges, you most certainly can do it again. Also, if you're running out of ideas for your next big project, or let's say your drive is low, you're feeling very uninspired, your creative drive rather, you can look through your vault of what I call excellence and use it as inspiration. So here's one thing I do, and I'm pretty sure other producers do this as well. We'll have a ton of unfinished beats. Like, this is just something that we do. You know, I don't know if it's musician ADHD or whatever you want to call it, but we'll start a project and then we'll say, okay, we're going to just sit that right here and get started on something else. So producers tend to have a lot of unfinished beats just lying around. And for what reason, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. So we'll have it lying around, and then we'll begin working on another project, or we'll get a call from an artist that says, hey, you know, can you help me produce my album, or do a single for me, or even do like an EP or something for me, or collab, or whatever the case may be. We'll say, yeah, because of course, you know, that's some money for us. Like, oh yeah, okay, let's collect our coins. Woohoo. Especially in this pandemic where nobody is supposed to be gathering in, you know, these huge groups. Can't really tour these days. So I digress. Let me stay on topic. So we'll have that vault of unfinished beats. And sometimes if we need to have our creativity turn on, we'll go through like these unfinished beats. We'll fish through it and we'll just play it back. And well, I know I do. I'll play it back and I'll listen to it, and then I'll begin to hear things, and it will spark new ideas for creativity. So if I, as a producer, can look back on some of my previous work, whether it's unfinished or not, and gather inspiration from that to create something new and something fresh, how much more you, with your previous accomplishments? You know, I mentioned school earlier. You can look back and say, okay, well, I graduated from college with a 3.5 GPA. Okay, now I'm going to try to graduate from grad school with a 4.0, and so on. You know, you can use that as fuel for your motivation. Like, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you developed a specific service and you're trying to think, okay, well, what's my next idea going to be? Like, what's my next project going to be? You can even come up with I don't know, you have a service, you can come up with a product that complements that service, and so on. You just need to look back on what you've done before, use that as fuel, use it as motivation, and, you know, you can create your next big thing from it. So that's pretty much that for, you know, point number 2. And let's move on to my third and final point. And it says, use your story to help others and offer advice. That's what this whole podcast is about. You know, I'm sure by now you guys have become sick of hearing about me and my previous experiences. If you are, hey, I'm sorry. But, you know, I'm trying to use it to help you. So it can't be that bad, right? But yeah, you know, use your story and your previous experiences to help others. You may not realize it, but the struggles that we go through, or the struggles that you go through, I guarantee you, the person who might even be in your circle, there's somebody who's going through the exact same struggle or struggles that you've gone through. And just talking about it sometimes can help someone. Growing up, especially where I'm from, it wasn't like a super heavy music scene. Like, there were people that I would quote unquote run with or try to learn from, that I looked up to in the music scene. But it wasn't like heavy touring happening over where I am, at least not in my circle. So I knew nothing about touring. I didn't know much about production. So as I began to grow older, thankfully I was able to access information from the professionals that I looked up to, like that I didn't know. But like your famous musicians or your famous producers, thanks to social media. And I was able to just sort of hear their story. They would sit down and do interviews, and I would just watch their interviews and hear like, man, okay, I can relate to that. Especially like growing up in the church and having to do certain things that I didn't think any other musician had to do. I didn't think anybody else went through it. Feeling certain stressors and dealing with them that I thought, okay, this is only reserved for Church D to deal with. Nobody else has to go through this. It's just easy and the straight and narrow for them. They want to go and do this, they get to do it. They don't have these roadblocks in the way. But come to find out, just by listening to the stories of these professional musicians and these producers, a lot of the struggles that they had, I had to deal with as well. And so thankfully, I was able to overcome a lot of them and make it to the other side. And so just being able to hear that, it really lifted my spirits and it gave me that drive to continue. So this is why I say it's important for you to look back on what you've accomplished and, look back at your story and share that with others who are willing to listen, of course, and who want to learn from you, who are also just on that path to success, who are really working hard, who have good hearts, because you can help them. You can help encourage them, and you can literally speak life back into them just by sharing your story with them. So think back on what you did, think about all of your achievements that you've made, and use that story, use that information that you have handy to help the next person. And like I mentioned in my previous podcast, the return on investment is going to be greater. Okay, so that was my third and final point. See, I kept it short and sweet this time. Let's do a quick recap. So the first point was to think back on what you've accomplished so far. Celebrate your wins and celebrate that hard work that you put in. The second point is to use your previous achievements as fuel for your motivation. Remember, if you're into music or a producer and you end up getting writer's block, pull up those old records, listen to it, and you'll watch. Your brain's going to just be like, whoa, I have inspiration once again. If you're not into the music thing, if you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is you do, and you're looking for that next big thing, look at what you did before. I guarantee you the wheels are going to start turning again. And my third and final point, use your story to help others and offer advice. Remember, you never know who's going through the same struggles you've gone through when you were on your way up to the top, right before you reached your goals and achieved what you achieved. Share with them what you went through and share with them how you overcame it. And watch, the return on investment is going to be out of this world. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope it blessed you and I hope it encouraged you. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to share this. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people you don't even like. Share it with that person who keeps bothering you for advice. I got you covered. And lastly, if you'd like to connect with me, just click the link in the description for all of my content. I have some great things in store for you. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.